Hey there, Paul here, founder of Christian Business Incubator. And I've been getting a lot of questions from Christians who are interested in the incubator and kind of wondering how things work. So we've put together this short video with the top 6 questions that we get. And the first one is, how much support can I expect from the mentor? And that's a great question. And that's really a question that you should be asking of any program that you look to invest your time in, right? Because you have a focus cost, you have an opportunity cost, you have an investment cost, you have a time cost. And when you're focusing on this thing, that means you're not focusing on this other thing. So we offer one time a week, a group coaching session. However, that is one-on-one coaching within the group. So we hop on a call and you say you have a question, we unmute you, we talk, you and I talk, and we get business done. And what's really powerful about the group session is we always hear from members that they're learning from other members' questions. And those calls are recorded. You can reference them. On top of that, you have access to our help desk. We run a help desk 5 days a week, about 12 hours a day. And the third component of the mentoring and support is we have a community. And lastly, you have access to one-on-one support as you're making phone calls. Okay, so you have very robust mentoring. And then on top of that, you have a blueprint, a very systematized, well-designed blueprint that allows you to go step by step. And if you have a question, you can check our help desk, our knowledge base, you can email, or if you need to hop on a call, we can visit. And it's a very powerful combination to allow you to get the maximum results in the minimum amount of time. The other thing that we do is we have you fill out a daily habit tracker and an optics tracker, so that because in business, the numbers always tell us what to do, right? Most people, they just fly blind in business and they're making decisions based on their gut. That's not how you build a big, successful business. You have to have your numbers, you have to know your numbers, and then the numbers tell you what to do. So as part of our mentoring, as you fill those numbers out, those numbers talk to us, and together we can show you the appropriate decisions to make in your business, okay? The next question is, how long does it take to get results? Now I love that question. That's a really good question. And you're going to love the answer. The answer is it depends, right? Now it depends on basically 3 components of that equation. Number 1, how much money do you have, right? More money means you can supercharge your results. Number 2, how much time do you have? Somebody who has 10 hours a week is at a different rate of progress than somebody who has 40 hours a week. And the third thing is, what is your baseline skill set? If you've already run successful businesses before, in other words, if this isn't your first rodeo, you'll be able to go through the learning curve faster than if you've never had a business before. And we accept all backgrounds, all experience levels, all resource levels. I will say a note on a future question here is, how much time per week do I need to build my business? We always recommend a minimum of 5 hours as you're going through your learning curve. Because remember, there's 2 things you got to go through. You got to A, learn the business, and then B, do the business. Those are 2 different things. And what's awesome is you only have to learn this stuff once. I learned some of these principles and skills 20 years ago when I did my first Finders transactions. And it's awesome because unlike some business models that change all the time or are subject to the economy or politics or all this other nonsense or technology, the way we do things is very evergreen. So you need a minimum of 5 to 10 hours a week. Now, if you have 10 hours a week, and if you have enough resources to invest properly in the growth of your business, and you're coming in from a middle of the line skill set. In other words, you have familiarity with Google Drive, for example, and some of the basic tech stuff. If you don't, we'll teach it to you, but you just have, there's a little bit more of a learning curve, right? Because of our trackers, we use Google Sheets and different things like that. So if you come in, then typically we see somebody harvesting their first transaction within about 90 days or less. In some cases, much less. But we would rather under promise and over deliver than tell you that you're going to get started and you're going to make $1 million tomorrow, right? Businesses work, okay, period. It's simple, but it's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. And that's not how the kingdom works. First the blade, then the ear, then the full corn. There's a progression. And you do the sowing, God does the growing. So there might be some things that he needs to work on in you so that you can get to the position where he needs you to be to bless you. So typically within 3 months or less, you can do your first transaction. And then from there, we show you how to do 1 a month and then 1 a week if you want, really hit any goals that you want to hit. Another question is, how hard is it? Well, as we just talked about, it's simple, but it's not easy. So where does the hardness come into play? Well, the farthest distance you're ever going to have to travel is 6 inches in your mindset. So really what we see, the members who have never run their own business before, the hardest part is adjusting their mindset. And what I mean by that is learning how to kick themselves in the butt, learning how to look in the mirror and see the boss, learning how to be the head and not the tail, learning how to manage that 6 inches, because in the Bible, it talks about he'll give us above and beyond what we can ask or think. And most people who've had a job come in to a business and they're asking or thinking for maybe 50, 60 grand, 100 grand a year. And if you ask for a 3-inch pipe, God will give you a 4-inch pipe. He'll give you a 4-inch flow. If you ask for a 3-foot pipe or flow, he'll give you a 4-foot. If you ask for a 3-mile, he'll give you a 4-mile. So really the most difficult part of this is just working on the mindset and operating in faith and staying in faith. As long as you apply biblical principles, you will succeed, period. So compared to working for 40 years for somebody else, 40 hours a week, compared to digging ditches, this is easy, in my opinion. It's simple, it's easy. You have to learn some things, you have to work hard. But the best part is even the parts of the business that you might find unpleasant today, we show you how to delegate yourself out of those things tomorrow, so that eventually the goal is for you to make 20 grand a month, and it takes you about an hour a week to manage that income stream. And then that way you're freed up to go chase those dreams and desires that God put on your heart that only you can do, right? I believe that if somebody else can do what you're doing, then you're not in your highest and best use in the kingdom. Let the other people do what they can do that you're currently doing, and free yourself up to go only do the things that you can do, that God built you to do, okay? So how hard is it? How much time per week do I need to invest in my business? We talked about that, 5, 10 hours. What are the startup costs? That's another great question. And it depends. The incubator is a cost. The data that we use, there's a cost to that. So to break down the monthly costs, you're looking at about $33 a month for the leads. You're looking at another $100 a month or so for the marketing platform that we use. And you're looking at about $100 for the offshore VA that will show you how to hire to manage your marketing platform, okay? And then as far as the incubator startup costs, that depends. And you'll need to book a discovery call to go over those options. But I can promise you this, we've never had somebody who wanted to get started that we couldn't figure out a way to get them started with their business. It's not free. For some people, it's a little bit of a stretch. But honestly, if you think about any legitimate business that you start, you're going to have to fund. And if you don't have to fund, well, you get what you pay for, right? So with us, you're paying for the blueprint, you're paying for the mentorship, you're paying for the ongoing coaching, you're paying for the community, you're paying for the help desk, you're paying for the advanced mentorship. So the way we break that down is we have pre-first transaction, and then we have your first 3 transactions. And then after your 3rd transaction, we consider you graduated. And at that point, you're actually invited to come here where I am. We do these in small groups. I buy you dinner, and then we really can roll up our sleeves and teach you some stuff that'll blow your head off as far as what you can do and how you can scale this thing up. Before the first transaction, we keep it very simple, very linear, so that you can get traction. After you graduate, we can show you some things that will just allow you to build generational wealth, to be honest with you. We've actually had people tell us that the second module in the program, which is the mindset module, has been worth the investment of the entire program, because it's so powerful to just help you to, be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renovation of your mind, that you may prove what is that perfect and good and acceptable will of God. So that's the cost. How does the process or transaction work? So at a very high level, to simplify it, what do? We're matchmakers. We find sellers who have a property that they're needing to sell or wanting to sell, and we put together a transaction that does not involve us using any of our credit, any of our cash, doesn't involve us paying them anything. It involves a structure that is a 1-page piece of paper. And if they choose to work with somebody like us, they will net more money by far than they will if they would have sold through a realtor or through FSBO or through leasing it. And those are their big options, right? A seller can sell FSBO, which is for sale by owner. They can sell with a realtor, or they can lease it, rent the house out. And typically we see that that's kind of their backup plan if they can't sell. Now, When they sell with a realtor, there's costs involved, right? There's the commission, 6%. Typically, the buyer is going to ask for a discount, 3%. Sometimes the mortgage underwriting is going to want some repairs done. So typically, we see about a 10 to 15% cost to sell with a realtor, and we see about half of that to sell FSBO. With us, they get their full asking price. There's no cost that they incur. So right off the bat, they're saving 10%. Then on top of that, they have monthly cash flow, and it's an incredible deal for the seller. So that's the seller side. So who do we match make them with? Well, we match make them with a buyer, but not just any buyer, a buyer who's looking to be an owner, a person who cannot afford a mortgage today, but can afford a mortgage tomorrow. Tomorrow meaning within the next 1 to 2 years. And so that person has to have some skin in the game. They have to have a down payment so that as long as their income in the monthly payment, if they can afford the monthly payment, then their down payment is the second criteria to indicate that they're going to be a good person to be a steward of this property while we're waiting for them to be able to afford to qualify for a mortgage payment, right? So that's important because those people, the reason they can't qualify for a conventional mortgage today is probably because their credit's a little bit banged up. But my goodness, there's plenty of great families out there whose credit's been banged up. And the conventional traditional mortgage system is letting those people down. In fact, it's about a 70-30 ratio. Only about 30% of the buyer pool can qualify for a conventional mortgage today. And when we went through the pandemic and all that mess, that they really increased those standards. So it's probably even less. It was a 70-30 split before the pandemic. Today, it's probably even more than that. So we let the realtors and we let the builders fight over the 30% that can qualify. And we offer an incredible opportunity for those people that can't qualify yet. Now, we don't work with deadbeats. We don't work with those kind of people. We work with really great families who have a good income, who have some money set aside and just need a little bit of time. And boom, we match make. We have one-page piece of paper that we can basically sell to that tenant buyer. And then any down payment money that they bring to the transaction, that's our profit, okay? So typically we like to see a minimum of 3%. So if it's a $200,000 home, 3% of 200,000 is $6,000. That would be your profit. The win for the seller is they get full asking price. They get the house maintained. They get the mortgage payment covered. The win for the tenant buyer is they get a beautiful home of their own that they couldn't have qualified for otherwise. And the cool thing is once you do these transactions, you're going to have both sides of that equation in tears of gratitude. It's happened to me. We've gotten so many thank you cards. In fact, I'll never forget this. We did a finder's transaction, and about 10 years later, my wife and I were at a restaurant. And this guy came up, he was a manager at a restaurant. He goes, "Oh my God, Paul, do you remember me?" And I'm like, and he probably could have told. So he introduced, he could tell that I didn't exactly remember him. So he introduced himself and said, "Hey, you helped us with our property." He said, "Oh my God, you saved our marriage. It was incredible. Thank you, thank you, thank you." And my wife and I were just sitting there shocked. 10 years later, we still had that level of impact doing just a simple finder's transaction with him. So you want to deliver maximum value to the marketplace. This is a great way to do it. And on top of that, you get big chunks of money. This is designed to be a full-time income with a part-time effort. Okay. So the other question we get often is this legal? Absolutely 100%. 100%. Now, not everybody knows about it. And if you ask an ignorant person, they probably won't understand. But any competent attorney recognizes that this is 100% legal. In my research, I found this being done over 40 years ago. It was the first time I could track this type of a transaction structure. And I did my first one 20 years ago. And what's awesome is nothing's changed in the last 20 years, except maybe some marketing stuff, right? We have new marketing channels that we didn't have back then. So if you're looking for an evergreen business, my goodness, it's incredible. And then the last thing is, why would a seller want to sell their home this way? Very simply, because they make more money. It's about anywhere from 30 to 60 or 70% more that they'll make working with somebody like me than they will selling it with a realtor. And that's a fact. That is a mathematical fact. Number one is they get more money. Number two is they get it done quick. With a realtor, they got to list it, they got to show it, they got to deal with all that crap, all the showings, especially with the pandemic and all that stuff. They got to have people traipsing through the house. And then because of the buyer financing ecosystem, many times what we're seeing is deals falling through at the last minute. So they've had the property on the market for 6 months. They go ahead, they find a buyer, they wait another 30, 60 days to close. And then the last minute underwriting shifts gears and the deal falls apart. It's an incredibly frustrating way to do business. With us, they get max price, they get full asking, boom, they get it done within a day or two, done, and it's a beautiful, beautiful transaction. So if you're a Christian interested in building a kingdom business, then click the button below, schedule a discovery call with one of our team members, and we'll walk you through what it looks like to come on board. Thanks and have a blessed day.